Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 1616. So 1616. Pretty cool. The topic is training and the title is Bench Press Variations for Strength Development. So one of the listeners sent in an email, and this is somebody I converse with back and forth about training quite often. They're very well educated and very freaking strong. So we were discussing a little bit about bench press development. They recently hit a PR and now they're getting ready for another run. Another run, it kind of built up even more. So I want to read through what they sent and just share some thoughts. Okay. So, hi Rob, I'm looking to run a 15-week training block to increase my bench. This time, instead of using straight weight and just benching for 15 weeks in a row, I want to switch it up. I'm wanting to increase starting strength off the chest, mid-range, and lockout power during this training block. So I'm looking for exercise specifically for each, and it doesn't matter to me if it's an underload or an overload movement. This is what I have so far. Okay, so what they want to do is they want to use specialty variations of bench press, and they want to go through a period of time focusing on the bottom portion of the range of motion, so coming off of the chest part of the motion. They want to work on the mid-range, which people commonly refer to as like the sticking point, and then the lockout. So a lot of strength off the chest actually comes from, and the listener would know this, so I'm saying this more for just every overall listeners, but a lot of the strength off the chest actually comes from just proper technique in regards to your setup and tightness. If you get your tightness correct in the setup, then when you go through the lowering portion of the bench press, it builds up a lot of muscle rebound tension, and it just compacts the joints, the muscles, everything stretches, everything loads, everything gets perfect, and then pow, right off the chest. So a lot of off the chest strength comes from proper positioning actually when you set up and during the eccentric portion. And that's the lowering portion of the bench press motion. So if you're struggling with developing chest strength, like off the chest strength, then you want to work on your overall technique first. So before you worry about a variation of bench press, if you're weak off the chest, focus on, am I even doing everything correct? Do I have proper leg tension? Do I have proper upper back, mid back tension? Am I keeping my rib cage up as the bar comes down towards me? As the bar lowers, you should be almost squeezing your back so hard that you're shoving your chest up into the barbell. So a lot of people, if they struggle with off the chest strength, it's typically a byproduct of just poor positioning. So you can go onto YouTube. We have, if you just search Brutal Iron Gym, bench press technique and basic information. So it's a video of me just showing how to set up for the bench press and a couple good details that are combined within that. So that's one component. Another component is the mid-range. Like after it comes off your chest, then it's like, oh crap, it kind of sticks in the middle. Some of that can actually be due to poor bar path. So if you film yourself directly from the side, if the bench press comes down, you'll notice that, and this is a little bit different depending on people, but in general, the bar starts kind of mostly over top of your upper chest, almost over like your collarbones. And then as it lowers down, it drifts a little bit towards your hips, and then it might go straight down from there, or it just might touch you at that point. So the eccentric, the lowering portion of a bench press, isn't typically straight down. It's a little bit drifting towards your hips in a little bit of an arc. And then whenever you touch your chest and start to push back up, you need to mimic that exact same arch. So it needs to come off your chest vertically, but immediately, and it depends on the length of your upper arms and how thick your torso is. But as it comes off the chest, it needs to start to arc and drift back towards your face. That sounds like I'm about to tell you to just drop the bar on your face, but I'm not. So typically, if you notice that the bar comes off your chest and it just goes straight up, and then you start to stall out, what's happening is you're overloading your triceps and you're not getting enough of your chest and like front shoulders involved. By coming off the chest and drifting back towards the face a little bit, it allows you to better blend triceps, chest, and shoulders. So if you feel like you get stuck in the middle of the range of motion, film yourself directly from the side of your bench press and notice, do you just come straight vertically off your chest and then it stalls? If so, try coming off your chest but then drifting back over towards your collarbone, towards your neck, towards your face. Okay? So you would film yourself on the way down, like see where the bar path is going on the way down, and then try to mimic that exact same bar path on the way up. So that could be one technical issue that's causing mid-range strength issues. So before we talk about all the exercise variations, which I do want to talk about, none of them will help if the underlying technique is not correct. Okay. The last part they talked about is the lockout. Now, typically the lockout, if somebody messes this up, where they're like, oh man, that's where I'm sticking. The technique component you might lose at the lockout is you lose tightness in your upper back. So as they go to lock out, as they push off the chest, coming through the mid-range, they start to let their shoulder blades spread open. That destabilizes the shoulder. That'll change the it'll change the strength output, basically, of your pressing muscles. So if you destabilize the foundation, it's like trying to squat on a Bosu ball rather than on the ground. If you try to squat on a Bosu ball, you're not going to hit your 1 rep max that you can on the ground. So as your shoulder blades would spread open, that would destabilize your shoulders and you'll feel weaker. So if you miss the lockout, that could be a technique component. So before you worry about what variation you're about to do that I'm about to talk through, make sure that your technique is consistent and correct. So you have to have proper setup and proper eccentric positioning to be strong off the chest. You have to have the proper bar path to be strong mid-range, and you have to keep your back squeezed together to have a proper lockout. Again, you can go to Brutal Iron Gym, bench press technique, and basic information on YouTube, and there's a 9-minute video of me, 9 or 10-minute video of me showing you how to bench press, okay, how to set up for it and everything. Now, what we'll go on and talk about next is the exercise variations that the listener listed, and pros and cons, what my thoughts are and whatnot. So, starting strength off the chest. So if I think my technique is good, I just feel like I'm weak coming off the chest. Typically, that's going to be chest muscles themselves. So your chest is probably weak. Now, this isn't always true, but often people with short upper arms tend to be weak off the chest. Now, part of the reason why is because they're not chest dominant, they're tricep dominant. If you have short upper arms, your triceps are going to be the strongest part of your bench press. And in the bottom position, when the bar is in your chest, the chest itself is in the best position to get the bar moving from that position. As the bar comes off the chest, then the triceps become in a better kind of mechanical position. So typically, if somebody's weak off the chest, it's because they're weak in their chest, like their chest is weak. So you want to do variations of bench press that extra emphasize the chest. So if something is weak, you attack it. You go after it. So it's actually funny. The person signed off their email with a statement, if you want to make the chain stronger, find the weakest link and strengthen it. Yes. So hell yeah, they're exactly right. So if I think my chest is weak, I want to isolate the hell out of my chest and just beat the living crap out of it and try to get it to catch up. Part of the reason why it might be weak is because your triceps always take over. Your triceps always do more of the work, so your chest never gets fully exhausted. So switching to a variation that allows for full exhaustion of the chest gets you better adaptation and better strength development for the chest. So they have 4 options written. One option is paused reps with a Duffalo bar mixed with Larson press. Super fun. I love all this stuff because it's so nuancey, but I love it, love it, love it. These are actually horrible but fantastic. So a Larson press, it's named after a guy who bench presses, and he's, what is that? His legs don't work. Golly. It's not paraplegic. Is that like all of the limbs, or is that 2 of the limbs? Oh gosh. I think that's the lower body. So I think paraplegic. I don't know why my brain is just skipping everything. But I think paraplegic is the bottom part, like your legs don't work. And that's what he suffers from. And so he made famous a bench press variation where you don't use your legs, because obviously you couldn't. So people just kind of extend their legs out. So rather than having your feet on the floor, you just have your thighs put together and laying on the bench. So your feet are sticking off the bench on the far end. That's a Larson press. If you press like that, you'll notice that you can't get as much of a back arch, because your weight of your legs and your hip rotation is different. So the weight of the legs isn't below your hips, which doesn't pull your hips into more of a forward rotation, which then allows for a better arch. So by having the legs stick straight out, it changes your hip tilt, which changes your ability to arch. So it makes the range of motion feel like a greater stretch in your chest. Now, if you use a Duffalo bar, that's a brand name for a Buffalo bar. A Buffalo bar might have been a brand name. I don't know. It's made so long ago. Who the hell knows? Sure, Google does. But a Buffalo bar is basically a bent bar. So the bar has a little bit of an arc to it. What this means is when you're benching with it, by the time a straight bar, when it comes down and it touches your chest, that's about the same height as your hands. Well, a bent bar, your hands have to go a little bit lower because the bar is arched. In order to get the bar to touch your chest, you actually have to lower your hands even further. That places a greater stress on the chest. Now, it depends on shoulder mobility, whether that's a good idea and whatnot. But that can sometimes be very beneficial, depends on a person's mobility. And then doing paused reps is good because you reduce some of the stretch reflex of the chest muscles. So therefore, to press out of the bottom, it's more of like a contractile effort rather than a rebound effort. So all of that mixed together is good. So paused reps with a Duffalo bar with Larson press. So if you don't have an arched bar, like a Buffalo bar, Duffalo just stands for a guy named Chris Duffin. He made a new variation of a Buffalo bar, so he called it a Duffalo, using his last name, Duffin. So if you don't have a Duffalo or a Buffalo bar, an arch bar, that's okay. Just doing paused reps in a Larson press, that'll still kill your chest. It's fantastic. So that's a good one. Really like that. It's arguable whether you need the Buffalo bar or not. I think just pausing with a Larson press is really good for most people to get good chest development. So if you have the Duffalo bar, try it. Absolutely, give it a shot. If it starts to aggravate the front of your shoulder, your AC joint, then skip that, but keep the variation of the exercise. So just change back to a straight bar. Then he has a Spoto press. Spoto is Eric Spoto. He's at one time was a world bench press record holder, like over 700 some pounds. So he had a variation of a bench press where he would just stop about a half inch to an inch off your chest, and then he would just press back up. So he would actually never let the bar deload into his chest. He would lower it down about an inch from his chest and then press back up. And that's how he did a lot of his warm-ups. And he also did really high rep warm-ups as well, like 315 for like 20 reps. Stupid stuff. Awesome stuff. Like stupid awesome. But Spoto press is something you can definitely play with. The reason why that's kind of beneficial is it gets rid of the deload, so it keeps more constant tension. However, I find that the Spoto press tends to help people with tricep and mid-range development more than it does off the chest. So Spoto press, because you load as you lower down, you're loading tension through the triceps, through the chest. You get almost to your chest and you stop an inch above your chest, and now already your triceps have stretched, they're engaged, everything's ready, and then you start pressing right back up. So I find Spoto press to be more beneficial for mid-range and like more so like tricep development rather than chest development. Now that's, maybe a personal thing. I've worked with clients to set like state records, and I've worked with a lot of elite powerlifters and a bunch of people with different body types than myself. And overwhelmingly, the majority of people do benefit from Spoto presses in regards to the mid-range and positional awareness, more so than actually developing strength off the chest. Another one he has is floor press. If you don't know what a floor press is, you literally lay on the floor and bench press. And he says the bar actually sits on my chest in the bottom position of the floor press. And I can see that for him. He's got a big back, big muscles, big dude. So it's not a shortened range of motion for him is basically what he's saying. The benefit of this is it's basically a forced Larson press because you can't lower your feet through the floor. So if you're laying on the floor, your body's perfectly straight, right? Or like some people do a floor press with their legs bent, but I don't like that's more of like an overload of lockout because you're going to end up lifting your hips. You're going to end up having more of an arch. So that's more of a lockout press. If you're doing floor press with your feet, like your legs bent and your feet planted into the floor. If you're laying totally flat, like a Larson press, but on the floor, then this can be a good one because, again, it eliminates an aid. So therefore, it creates more work for the chest. So this is an option, but I would say that if you're doing the paused reps in the Larson press on a regular bench, I don't know if you necessarily need the floor press. And for most people, they're not going to be as thick and as big as the listener is. So the floor press is going to turn out to be more so a kind of like mid-range to lockout type lift. Then the last thing they have is dumbbell press, focusing on stretching the dumbbells as deep as possible. Absolutely. You can actually do like almost like a wide press where you still keep the hands angled like you're doing a dumbbell press where your palms are facing more towards your hips than they are towards themselves, rather than neutral grip. But as you lower down, purposefully allow the inside head of the dumbbell to start to creep a little bit outside the width of your shoulders. And what you'll notice is that the weight of the dumbbells, not only do they want to push you down, but they also want to pull you out a little bit. If you bench press like that, good God, that'll light up your chest. So it's kind of fun in the sense that these are both like those two. The last two are, the first and the last one are my favorite ones, like what I would say to do. And I think they're very complementary. So if you do 2 workouts a week, one of them can be done, like 2 bench workouts a week. One of them can be done with the paused reps Duffalo bar Larson press variation because that's a heavier variation than the dumbbells. So the dumbbell with a chest focus where you let the inside head of the dumbbell shift like a little bit outside your shoulder width, that could be done as like an accessory lift on a secondary day, or you can actually do it as an accessory lift after doing the paused rep Duffalo Larson press. However, I tend to, when I'm putting together bench workouts, I don't double up on a concept in the same workout. Meaning if I already did a major lift, like if I already did the pause reps Duffalo bar Larson press, which is a chest focus movement, I'm not going to do probably another dominant like chest focused movement. And this all depends on the person and how far they are along in progression and whatnot. But I would feel like those are kind of doubling up. So I'd rather spread it out and get a little bit of that stimulus on one workout and a little bit of a stimulus on another workout, especially considering they also want to work on mid-range and lockout. So mid-range, they have 2 board press, 3 board press, and dead press. Excellent. So no worries there. That's all good stuff. So if you don't know what a 2-board or a 3-board press are, just go on YouTube and search like 2-board bench press and you'll see it. Literally, it's boards, so like 2x4s, like wood, that somebody will put on their chest. And what happens is basically it elevates your chest. So as you lower the bar down, it hits into the board, and it would hit at a shorter range of motion, like it'll hit higher than where your actual chest is. So if I have an inch of a board on top of my chest, the bar will hit an inch higher, and I still have to deal with the deload, the transition, and the drive out of that position. So 2-board and 3-board presses actually really I enjoy. I think they're good options. One of the challenges is you need another person. Now they do make a device, I think it's bench blocks, but it's blocks spelled with a Z, like BLOCKZ. Bench blocks is something that you can put on the barbell and work on your own. So that's an option for you. You can get them on like Rogue or they probably have their own website. So just bench blocks. And again, it's, I see here. Okay, I Googled it real fast. It's bench, BENCH, and then blocks, which is BLOKZ. So they got rid of the C and they put a Z instead of the S. Ugh. Oof. But, so bench blocks. You can search for those. They're actually really good. You can use that kind of on your own. So it just kind of like in a way it kind of like snaps or secures onto the bar. And then you can use that as a way to get different heights of like quote unquote boards. So rather than the old school way of doing boards where you have somebody hold a board on your chest, you can do them by yourself if you have that device called a bench blocks. So great, like those a lot. All good stuff. So then dead press is a good one. Dead press, I feel like it's I've used it a lot. I've used it a lot with clients. I use it a lot with myself. I feel like it's actually better for identifying tightness. So a dead press, essentially what it is if you look into a squat rack or like higher end like bench presses, they'll have safety spotters, like safety spotting arms, or if you're in a squat rack, it has like the safety supports, whatever you might call them, to where like if you drop the bar, it doesn't fall all the way to the floor or cut your neck off. But what they do is they put those supports higher than where you would typically need them, almost the same height as you would look for like a 2-board or a 3-board. So you would put it like say 2-3 inches or so above where your chest is, and then you actually start the bench from the bottom. So you have the bar on those pins, on the supports. You get yourself into position, you feel super duper tight, and then you try to drive out of the bottom. It's awesome and horrendous at the same time. But what typically I like about that is if somebody doesn't know, like if they're not demonstrating in the video reviews, so I'm doing video reviews for clients, but they don't look really tight in their positioning. They're kind of shifty. I have them do dead presses because it forces you to have to get super tight in order to get the bar to move. And then by forcing you to get super tight, a person learns what super tight actually feels like. So dead press, I found more benefit with technique awareness and technique development than for strength. What I really like about 2-board and 3-board is you still get the handoff, you still get like the unracking, whatever you want to call it, whether you have a spotter or not. You still get the eccentric portion. You still get that like kind of deloading into the board, then in a drive out of it. It feels closer to a regular bench press. So I would prefer a 2-board or 3-board press over a dead press. Then for lockout, they have 4 ideas. 4-board press, yep, because it just shortens the range of motion where basically all you're doing is tricep lockout. Awesome. Reverse band bench press. I love reverse band bench press. It's one of my favorite things to give clients. I have helped people skyrocket their strength with reverse band bench press. My dad and I were the first ones, to the best of my knowledge, to ever build a standalone reverse band bench press bench. So we have a bench in our gym. You can actually go to, if you want to see it, go to our website, www.brutalirongym.com. If you click on gym membership, we actually have photos of the gym. You can kind of click through those, and then we have a link that says watch a video tour. And you can see in one of the photos, and you can see in the tour, a bench that my dad and I made that has like basically support arms, but they're high. And they're elevated way above you, so that way you can anchor bands off the support arms down to the barbell, and it makes it easier to set up reverse band bench press. So freaking awesome, looks commercial grade. My dad and I actually made it ourselves. Love it. So I love reverse band bench press. Absolutely. Second, the third exercise I wrote is bench against band. So banded from the bottom. I like those, but what I find is they can be limiting in weight load. So it's kind of fun in the sense that the reverse band bench press would be considered an overload lift, whereas banding from the bottom is considered an underload lift. The reason why this can be helpful is if in the other variations of exercises I'm choosing, one is super heavy, super aggressive, but I really want that variation, then I want to pair it with something that's not as aggressive so I don't kick the crap out of my joints. But if we look at, say, for example, the paused reps with a Larson press, that is what's called an underload technique. You will not be able to lift as much weight as you could if in a regular variation of bench press. So you're underloading, meaning you're going to feel super intense, very challenged, but from a lighter weight load than normal. If you're doing an underloaded technique, it's fun to then pair it with an overloaded technique because you have the room for more joint stress. So since you're doing an underloaded thing, your joints are going to be maximally taxed. And if you're not purposely trying to recover from a previous cycle that was very aggressive, you can blend in then an overload. So I would blend in the reverse band bench press because you can use heavier weight loads with a reverse band bench press than your normal type of bench press. So it's fun to know underloading and overloading because then you better know what to pair with other things and to save joint stress but to maximize muscle tissue stress. The reason why this is helpful is because if you're looking at a 15-week program, weeks 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, you don't want to be running into, oh, my shoulder really hurts, my elbow really hurts. Oh, I'm not recovered between my workouts. I'm just so stressed. I'm so tired. Nothing's feeling really well. It's because for the first whatever weeks, we mismanaged overloading and underloading, and you beat the living shit out of your joints. Or, this would be the worst, if you unfortunately, unknowingly underloaded your whole 15-week training block, and then you go to try a max and you get slammed. You either don't make any progress or you actually can't even lift what your old max was. That would be depressing as hell. So if you mismanage underloading and overloading, you can run into a lot of joint stress and recovery stress, or you can just mismanage your prep. So for a competition or for like a peak day. The last one they said was a slingshot. A slingshot is an overload, and it's similar to like reverse band benching, but you have, if you know what a slingshot is, it's made by Mark Bell. Now, there are a bunch of ripoffs of it, but Mark Bell made the original one. So you can go to, I think his website's like slingshot.com. Pretty obvious. What it is it's something that goes across, it's on your upper arm. You slide it on both upper arms, and it's like a sleeve on each arm with a piece of material across the sleeves. That piece of material stretches across your chest. So as you lower down, it's like a bench shirt, essentially. It's a bench shirt you can put on a hell of a lot easier than an actual bench shirt. So if you want to just YouTube that, slingshot, like type Mark Bell slingshot bench press. There you go. So what's interesting about that is you tend to feel that there's more stabilizational issues than just a generic reverse band bench press. A reverse band bench press doesn't change much about your technique, really nothing, which is why I love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Because I can use it with beginners, intermediates, and advanced. Slingshot, I'm sure as hell not giving that to a beginner because they're going to drop the bar in their face. So a slingshot requires a lot more control. And I'm not opposed to it, but I like reverse band benching better. I feel like it's just easier transition and just maintenance of basic good technique. Now, if you don't have the ability to do reverse band bench pressing, maybe you bench in a commercial gym and not a lot of squat racks available, and if you bench a squat rack, everybody's going to kill you because everybody wants squat as well. So a slingshot's a great option. Just warm up with it, practice it a lot, don't go crazy with it. I have people practice high reps with it before I practice heavy weight. So maybe they can normally do 225 for 8. I'm like, throw the slingshot on and see if you can get a couple sets of 10. It just gets them used to the position, gives them a little bit of a boost, and then we kind of progress from there. But there's a practice time when it comes to a slingshot if you want to be safe, whereas with reverse band bench press, there's no need to practice. You can just be unsafe right away. So it's safe on its own. Good. Okay, so they wrote, what else can you think of? I thought about weight releasers, but not sure where to put them. So weight releasers, if you're not sure what that is, you can go to YouTube and type bench press weight releasers. It's basically something that hangs on the bar, and you have it on the bar right when you start the bench press. As you lower towards your chest, right when you're about to hit your chest, the weight releasers, they hit the ground and they release, they fall off of the bar. And now all of a sudden the bar weighs less and you can push it up. So maybe you can think of like, I can load 225 pounds on the bar, but put 50 extra pounds on weight releasers. So 25 on each side. So I can lower down 275, have 50 pounds fall off right when it hits my chest, and then only have to press back up 225. Weight releasers are great, again, for technique development and technique awareness. So if I want somebody to work on confidence of lowering down a 1 rep max, but they get like shaky, they break up their technique, they're really uncertain, they kind of screw things up when they get heavy. Well, we'll put on weight releasers so they can still lower a heavy weight, but it falls off right when it hits their chest, and then they can press up a lighter weight. So it's really good for confidence development and for awareness of being tight during the eccentric portion. So they're more aware if they're tight because it's heavier, but they don't have to worry about not being able to get it back up because the weight will fall off. So weight releasers wouldn't really work for this client. So if he's looking to just develop, strength off the chest, strength in the mid-range, and strength at lockout, he's been lifting forever. His technique's pretty damn good. So he probably doesn't need the weight releasers. But if you're having confidence issues with 1-rep maxes, weight releasers are fantastic. If you just want to improve your tightness and overall technique development, weight releasers are great. So we do have them in my gym. My dad actually made her own because I hated everybody else's. So we definitely have them. I love them and I do use them, but it doesn't really fit into the categories of strength off the chest, strength mid-range, and strength at lockout. So anything I can think of. Actually, this is a damn good list. So you got some good stuff in there. I like the Larson press and the dumbbell variations for off the chest. I also like guillotine press. You have to be very careful with weight load. It's a light accessory. It's either something you do as a warm-up or something as a light finisher. But a guillotine press is really good for upper chest development and just good overall control, but it maintains good technique. That one is not heavy, though. Do not go heavy on that because you'll hurt your shoulder. But I do use the guillotine press with clients who I can trust not to go, crazy with it. And then you got like really good ones, like the 2-board press, 3-board press, Spoto press. I like the Spoto press, but I like it more for mid-range rather than off the chest. Reverse band bench press, my favorite thing ever. I think that's, if I had to pick only one bench press accessory or bench variation, I would do reverse band bench press, 100%. And everything else is good. So I really like it. Excellent. What I would suggest is just making sure that whenever you're putting together your program, that if you're doing 15 weeks and the exact same movements all 15 weeks, I'm not a big fan of that, but I do understand people do that. Just make sure that you're balancing your overloading and underloading. And then if you're doing segments, say you're breaking your 15 weeks down into like a 4, 4, 4, and then like a 3-week kind of prep with basic technique. That would be totally reasonable, great to do. And then in those first 3-4 week segments, make sure you modify and control your overloads and underloads. So maybe program 1, the first 4 weeks, I might do an overload of an off the chest variation and then an underload of mid-range and lockout. Then maybe the second 4-week block, I would do an underload of the off the chest and the lockout, but I would overload the mid-range. Then the third 4 weeks, I would underload off the chest and mid-range and overload lockout. Then I would give it 2 weeks of just basic normal bench pressing, kind of refining techniques, some doubles and singles, let the CNS recover, let the body kind of peak back up, and then the 15th week, go all nuts and see if you can hit a big PR. So a lot of fun ways to blend that. I think those were all really good choices. So hopefully that was fun just to kind of talk through that. If anybody wants any help with programming, we do have our one-on-one services where I do training and nutrition for you and write your training programs entirely. And then we also have our live monthly programming option now. So you can go to our website, www.brutalirongym.com. If you click on the link that says live monthly programming, you will see a description of what that service is. So it is a monthly subscription service. There's no contract. You can cancel anytime you want. It's only $50 a month. You get a brand new training program every 4 weeks, and you get a chance to ask one-on-one questions whenever the hell you want. So you get unlimited one-on-one education, and you get a brand new program every 4 weeks for $50. Pretty damn good. I think that's pretty damn good. So again, you can ask anything you want. 24/7, you can ask anything in this document that I give people, and then I go through once a week and try to answer all the questions. So it's a fun way. You can ask anything you want, you'll get anything you want, and then everybody gets to learn from everybody else's questions. So it's really awesome education as well. So with that, the programs are every 4 weeks. There's 6 workouts per program. So that's 6 workouts per week. You don't have to do all 6 to make progress. I just write 6. That way, if they want to work out, they can choose however many days they want to work out, and they'll get, something to do that day. Now, what makes it live? Why is it live monthly programming? Well, we have a virtual Q&A every week. so you can ask me anything you want in a live Q&A kind of session. Then we have that document that you can ask one-on-one questions at any time you want. And then also I'm setting up to start sending private kind of training education videos to subscribers of that service. So you would only get that content if you're a subscriber of the service. That's going to be really fun as well. Then the program topics, like what you get to pick from. We have power building, which actually is powerlifting, but if you eat more, you grow more muscle. So it's a hybrid program of strength and bodybuilding with a focus on narrowing the midsection while thickening the upper body and thighs to create an X frame for maximal aesthetics. But we also focus on progressing squat, bench, deadlift, and overhead press. So it's a blend of strength and kind of building mass. But again, the mass only comes if you eat for it. So if you want to do powerlifting, but you want to control your body weight, you would just control your nutrition. Now, nutrition is included in the programming. Again, you can ask me any question you want about nutrition. We have a free document to set up your own nutrition program on a free education resources link on our website. You click that link, and there's literally the first thing you see is create your own nutrition program. It takes you step by step and teaches you how to do it. So no worries ever about nutrition. You can follow that program and then ask me any questions you want. Then we also have a female shape development program, a pure bodybuilding program, functional athleticism. So that's how to be like strong, but also be very good with body weight wise and still be aerobically fit. One of the clients I train is a two-time world champion of a firefighting challenge, and that's the type of programming she does. So it's really good for military and like first responders and stuff like that. Then we have functional longevity, and that's basically how to age while remaining strong and mobile, but without common aches and pains that are often associated with heavy weight training. Okay, so again, all that is only $50 a month, no contract, cancel anytime you want. Go to the website, www.brutalirongym.com, click on live monthly programming to learn more about that. Awesome. Okay. Well, if you have any questions, feedback, suggestions, anything you want to know, let me know at my email, brutalirongym@gmail.com. If you like our podcast, please share it. The more people we share it with, the more people can help. That's the whole point of the podcast, is just to help everybody. So if you need anything, shoot me an email and I'll always answer. Thank you to those who donate to support the podcast. It goes towards the hosting cost, goes towards the time it takes to make the podcast, and some of the time that it takes to answer all the questions. We do not get enough in donations to cover the hosting costs and anything else, but I really do appreciate the donations that we do get because it helps buffer some of that cost and some of the time investment. I truly, truly, truly want to be able to give back a lot of the blessing that has come to me in my life. And I believe the podcast and answering people's questions for free is a great way to do that. And I appreciate the donations because it makes it actually possible. You know, everybody wants to help everybody, but you also got to pay bills and keep the place, in business. So I do appreciate the donations that we get because it does help me kind of do a little bit of both. A little bit of pay the bills and a little bit of helping people. So sincerely, thank you very, very much if you do donate. If you want to donate, you can do that on our website, www.brutalirongym.com. And then if you like the information we share in our podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. So find us and follow us on Instagram under the name Brutal Iron Gym, and find us and follow us on YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Gym. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.